Well, we are 3 days away from Texas going to Lexington to take on Kentucky. And I just got done doing the offensive version of the deep dig over on orangebloods.com, really putting left guard Nick Brooks under the microscope and kind of seeing if there was improvement from the Florida game to the Oklahoma game. I think that if you saw it and you watched the first series of the game, you probably thought that you were in for disaster. But I'm here to tell you, man, there's definitely some things to like and to get excited about. We'll talk about them today. First, let's tell you about our great sponsor, the Man Eye Institute. Make sure you give them a phone call today. 844-WOW-2020. 844-WOW-2020 is the Man Eye Institute. See life better for all your vision needs, your LASIK, your cataracts, whatever it is. If it involves your vision, go there, go see them. They have all the best equipment. They have the next level LASIK. It's unlike anybody else and really like anybody else in the country, but certainly here in Central Texas. The Man Eye Institute, See Life Better. They are our presenting sponsor. Thanks so much to them. All right, Cody, as I put up the QR code for the Alpha Seasoning, where we just got a new shipment in, make sure and go check that out, alphaseasoning.com, or get it at Hudson's Meat Market or Texas Beef Traders in Austin, Lakeway, and Marble Falls. Cody, I don't know, man. What did you think? What did the eyeball test tell you just from watching Brooks and what you've seen in these games, or what you've seen in your reviews of the game post OU?
Well, I think my first takeaway, and you just kind of said, if you just watch the first quarter and shut the game off, and you're just hearing what everyone else is saying from what they saw the rest of the game, you probably are a little bit like, man, I don't know if I want to buy half of that stuff. But I mean, they had one penalty, the team did, from the second quarter, third, and fourth quarter, and they played pretty clean football. And we talked a little bit before the show started about Nick Brooks, and we had a clip up on the screen talking about Nick Brooks and like the athleticism that we know he has. And he showed it a little bit against Florida, but Florida was just so fast, I think, for him. And it just came, and I think you wrote it in the column, maybe intensive or not, but blowing and going. Like it was coming at him quick against Florida, right? And this Oklahoma game, it kind of feels like everything slowed down a little bit more for him, which is odd because it was a better front on paper. We know Sark talked about him being down from 360 to 350 to now 330 this past weekend. And I'll be honest, Alex, Nick Brooks looks like he's in that 330. I mean, he's a very good looking 330. And I like what I've seen. And yeah, the grade's not an 80, but that's kind of hard to expect in your second career start. And I think it took a big step forward.
Dude, it was a massive step forward. He looks good. He looks good. And if you look at all the deep dig stuff, and if you look at him just on the spreadsheets and all the rest, you're going to say that this guy's terrible, right? If you just look at it and you see like, okay, he played 60 snaps in this game. He allowed 3 pressures. He allowed a TFL. He had a holding penalty. He had a false start. He also had two knockdowns. But the fact that he had a deep dig grade of a 75.17 while doing all that's the kind of thing like where that's 6 instances of disruption, right? 3 pressures, 1 TFL, 2 penalties. Yeah, 6 out of 60. He was allowing disruption once every 10 plays. That's not good. That's typically something that would result in an unacceptable grade. It was the fact that like if you were to start the game and watch that first series and then fast forward to the end of it, you'd be like, 2.5 hours later, you're this guy that you said, oh my God, he's going to be a disaster again. They're actively looking to run behind him to ice the game with Trey Wisner. That's how he's moving people. That's how he's moving bodies. We've talked about it, but how he was thrown into he's been thrown into a situation where I think moving forward, he's pretty much guaranteed to fail a couple times a game.
Yeah.
Moving forward, it's like he's just having to learn so much. It's just like from what Cody pointed out last week is saying it's not just in his pass protection that he's having to set to a new depth at guard as opposed to tackle that he's still getting used to, right? But he's also moved sides of the line of scrimmage, or he's also moved sides as far as the actual formation. So whereas he used to be a right tackle, now he's a left guard. So it's like it's not only the depth, but it's also the actual like the fundamental mechanisms of the way that he moves. And that's not stuff you can't just put that up on a chalkboard and say like, all right, well, here are the rules here. This is how it's like, that's repetition. That's muscle memory. These are things that you can't just, there are going to be things where where they're little screw ups, right? And then on top of those physical things, then you have that chalkboard stuff. You have all your new rules, your new checks, all this stuff like that. Cody was showing me a video earlier before we got on air with just a video that Nash put up on X, where it was a play that I remembered where you started to see him begin to improve with some of the checks and some of the rules and stuff whenever he and Trevor Gooseby were able to successfully pick up a game that they were playing, just a pretty simple stunt, but that they passed off pretty well and were able to keep Arch protected. I look at him and I say, again, if looking at the numbers alone, based on the Florida game, based on this game, he's allowing disruption once every 7.5 snaps. So it's it's not. Sark will be the first one to tell you that, he's not a perfect player right now, right? But you have to remember he was thrown into this situation, and for all the reasons that we discussed, it's a little bit tough. But what Texas did in this game, Cody, I don't know if you realized it, but they ran a lot more zone in this game. They got away from all the power, the man gap, counter stuff that they've been running so much. It was 83% of the time versus Oklahoma that they ran zone. So they were 64% versus Florida, 72% versus Sam Houston, 68% versus UTEP, 54% versus San Jose State, and 47% versus Ohio State zone. So their zone has been going up and up and up and up. And Trey Wisner was locked in. He was like Neo in the Matrix style locked in as far as him being able to see his zone lanes and stuff. But he's a good zone runner, dude. One cut and go. And, man, you run zone to a 3 technique. And whenever you have that 3 technique on the outside eye of Nick Brooks, you have a guy in Brooks. It's like he's so much different than Connor Stroh, because Connor Stroh and to some degree Cole Hudson are athletically limited players. And the reason why they're doing all this man gap stuff, I don't know this for sure, but I think it's because Cody, why? It's because it gives them easy down blocks. Mm-hmm. It gives them blocks with built-in leverage to where it makes it easy. They're already on the play side. All they do is block down. It opens up a hole. It's easy to figure out. It's not like where you have to drive a man off the ball at a zone angle and have actual good lateral agility and strength and functional strength, right? Nick Brooks has that. He has the lateral agility. He has the functional strength. He gets on guys. He stays on guys. Dude, he has juice. So whenever Sark says that he brings something new, he brings a new energy, he brings a little bit of a spark to the offensive line, I totally get what he says when he says it. And if you just look at the disruption that he allows as he's learning to do this stuff, you're throwing out the fact that he's out there reach blocking guys. He's out there he's out there doing some of the stuff that you recruit athletes to go do along the offensive line, and not somebody who you're having to kind of neuter your scheme that you've majored in zone running this whole time, and you're having to neuter your scheme just to make up for their deficiencies. And I think despite all the issues that he had, man, I think that left guard job's his.
It looks like it's his. And was that today that Sark was asked about leadership and offensive line, and he brought up, he said, yeah, Trevor Goosby's the leader, yada, yada. And then he goes, Nick Brooks really brought us a lot of juice in this game. Was that today or was that yesterday?
He said it at some point. I don't remember.
I think it was today, but I thought that was big. If you watch the game back, you did obviously, but I'm talking about more of like the public fandom. If you watch the game like close and you see like Nick Brooks finishing 35 yards downfield, he's the only player 35 yards down the field other than the ball carrier. Or you see like him make a big block and, get in the guy's face and you're like, yeah, maybe pull back a little bit. I don't want to see a flag come out, because he's jawing him. He's like, I beat you. Like, and he's going to let him know he beat him. Mm-hmm. And like, that's having that confidence as a true freshman. Yeah, you're 6'8", 330. Like, it's not hard to have that confidence. But when you dominate somebody in a game like this against a team that, it's got the number 1 defensive line, according to everyone in the world coming into this game, and one of the best defenses, if not the best defense in America, and you come in there.
Number 52 and number 56 were throwing. They were throwing Cole Hudson around, and it was like
and Stone 0.
Oh yeah, dude. Okay, you're right, but mainly 50. I mean, it was mainly 50. It was those 50s guys that Hudson was having so much trouble with. But it's like, and then you see Brooks. He's not having in the run game. He's not, to your point. He's not having that same trouble.
Yeah, Man, Goosby's getting some good talks right now in the NFL draft circles, but the idea that you could have that tandem on that left side is if you can fix the center position going into next year, they're gonna have to go to the portal for that, it feels like. But I mean, that left side of that offensive line, if that's your offensive line, the left side for the next 2 years, you're gonna get some high-end football. And, by the time the playoffs get here and in 2026.
Yeah, and look, it's like Sark said, we're not here saying that I'm sure that his PFF grades for this game were miserable, right? I'm sure that they were. I haven't looked at them, but if because there were some plays where you're just like, oh my god, I can't believe that he just allowed that pressure. I can't believe that just happened. But if you just look at if you look at where he wins, if you look at how he wins, and you look at the ways that he's continuing to improve, even over a 2-game sample, I have zero doubt that he's going to improve from OU to Kentucky, right? And if he continues to improve, what are you laughing at the PFF grade? Did they give him a 4 or something like this? What did they give him? What did they give him?
I'm just looking at statistically, the team, this was the worst pass blocking game of Texas's season, according to PFF.
Worse than Florida
by 23 points.
If you've
the worst pass blocking game of the season, they gave up 1 sack that was on the quarterback, arguably, right?
Yeah, it was kind of on Gooseby, but
it was kind of on Gooseby, but also I think it's wishy-washy. But Nick Brooks, 14.7.
Oh God! All right. If there's ever an example of why PFF is cockamamie, that's exactly why.
What on earth?